Growing tension in Ukraine tonight as the investigation into what happened to that ill-fated Malaysian Airlines plane stalls. Pro-Russian rebels are asserting their authority over the crash site, and that's prompting an angry response from Canada. Prime Minister Stephen Harper pointing the finger squarely at Russia in a rare newspaper editorial today, saying there can be no weakening of our resolve to punish the Putin regime for threatening the peace and security of Eastern and Central Europe.
Hi there, I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet. You're tuned in to Video Radio with Radio Free Canada.
And we are styling because we're talking about the propaganda coming out of Harper's mouth regarding President Putin.
Yeah, I know. The guy can't open his mouth without making an idiot out of himself. But apparently he's accusing the president of Russia of rabid militarism without any facts or figures. But, he doesn't really believe in them.
Yeah, I know, because he's, not about facts. He's about dogma and weird beliefs. And then pot calling the kettle black. That was...
Exactly.
Okay. However,
don't forget we have major trade deals in the works. And, of course, they're using that as an election platform as well. And apparently the Germans are kind of not really happy with the comprehensive economic trade agreement that Harper was so excited back at the beginning of the year.
But, well, hopefully we have a clip on it.
Oh, we do. Check this out.
Just last fall, it looked like a done deal. The Prime Minister was all smiles in Brussels announcing a free trade agreement with the EU.
It is not just a good deal, it is an excellent deal.
But fast forward 9 months and a key player, Germany, has cold feet.
The Harper government shouldn't have counted its chickens before they came home to roost.
Germany's concerns center on an investment protection provision in the deal. Critics there are concerned it would set a precedent for the EU's free trade deal with the U.S. by allowing companies that invest in Germany to change or stop German laws.
The right of Canadian and American corporations to sue European countries and the right of European corporations to sue Canadian governments if they don't like our laws.
But Ottawa isn't budging. In a statement, a spokesperson tells us investment protections have long been a core element of trade policy in Canada and Europe and will encourage job-creating investment and economic growth on both sides of the Atlantic. The opposition wants the government to reconsider.
If the price of expanded trade with the European Union is that Canadian governments, federal and provincial and municipal, can't legislate and regulate in the public interest, then I'm hoping that we'll rethink those provisions.
This is not Luxembourg.
Former ambassador to the UN, Paul Heinbecker, says Germany's concerns have to be taken seriously, but
it may be that it's just part of the negotiations. I know that the agreement is very close to the end, and it may be that the Germans are just, making one last attempt to get something that they would like to have.
Negotiating tactic or not, we'll know which it is soon. The deal now heads to each of the 28 EU member countries for them to review. The German government says it will continue to scrutinize the text of the deal, but there are concerns other countries in the EU share Germany's concerns. If that's the case, getting a green light for the deal will be an even greater challenge for the federal government here.
So trade deals that he's trying to ram through while they have a majority, we really want you to look up CETA and the TPP.
And the TTIP and other trade deals that, are reminiscent of NAFTA and how well that worked out for Canadians.
Just think, cedar shakes and shingles.
Now, there's a conflict going on that not many people are talking about. Apparently, there's a major military action going on in Africa, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Canadians are trying to adopt children from there. However, our government, in its wisdom, is standing in the way of getting those children out of a war zone.
Thank goodness we have a clip on this. Check it out.
Outgrown clothes, untouched toys. For more than a year, Shelley and Fred Muntow have watched the son they've never met grow up in photos.
Every month, the changes, we're like, looking for his first tooth in every photo, or, watching to see that he's crawling, and then he's walking, and we're missing all those milestones.
They're among at least a dozen families who say Canada is the only thing standing between them and their adopted children in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The paperwork processed, the kids legally theirs, immigration officials won't issue them visas.
Congolese government has said, yes, we will give you your exit letter if you give us a visa, and Canada is saying, we're not giving you a visa unless you have an exit letter.
Last year, the DRC announced a suspension on exit letters, documents allowing the children to leave. Hundreds of international adoptions were frozen. Canada stopped issuing visas, but the U.S. and European countries continued. So the children are ready to go if and when things change. Diplomatic channels do work. Since U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry raised the issue on a recent trip to DRC, dozens of Americans got their letters. Though hundreds still wait, one U.S.-based adoption agency says Canadian clients are at a disadvantage.
Whereas I can say to my American families, we, our agency as well as our government, have done everything that we can, I cannot say that to my Canadian families because they're not.
Canada's Immigration Department says it has no authority to intervene in the decision about exit permits, but doesn't explain why visas can't be issued in the meantime. The NDP says this problem isn't limited to DRC adoptions.
Every MP's office, I'm sure, would be able to tell you stories of families that are unable to bring their children over they've legally adopted because the Conservatives are not putting the resources or effort into it.
Meanwhile, families like the Muntows can't afford to go visit their kids. Shirley Engel, Global News, Ottawa.
So, of course, you do want to extricate kids out of this situation. However, I think the government has something else.
Well, I don't really think they care about human life as much as they purport to.
No. Can you say 1 in 5 children going hungry? How about 300,000 Canadian homeless? That's, of course, is the legacy of the Harper government. You know, I was almost to say Trudeau. That was weird, eh? Okay, but that's what we're talking about.
We're talking about, what we're going to talk about is our political parties jumping on the Zionist bandwagon.
And we thought that we had some hope when Justin Trudeau stepped up. He started saying the right thing, and then he came out pro-pipeline.
And started acting like a Zionist puppet. Check this out.
As I've said many times before and after visiting Israel, standing up for Israel is more than just standing up for her security. It is also standing up for the very values and ideals that our two countries share: democracy, openness, tolerance, compassion, respect for the rule of law, and, perhaps above all, the quest for peace.
Dead bodies sprawled over Gaza's streets. Children lay close to the adults who were trying to protect them, victims of Israel's military assault.
I want to reiterate that the Liberal Party of Canada will have Israel's back, not because it's in our political interests to do so at home, but because it is the right thing to do.
The bodies are wrapped in white cloth and are piled up in the morgue. The dead and injured keep coming as Israel pounds the Palestinian territory from the land, air and sea. Israel's military assault on Gaza has got steadily more intense over the last few days. As Israel's army moves into one of the most densely populated areas in the world, a home for more than 1.5 million Palestinians trapped on all sides.
I also want to emphasize the importance of having a political consensus in Ottawa. Across party lines, we must support Israel. Canada must always remain a steadfast and true friend to Israel. The only way to accomplish that goal is to make sure that, regardless of our differences on other issues, all Canadian political parties are united in our support for a safe, secure, and prosperous state of Israel. I want to reiterate that the Liberal Party of Canada will have Israel's back.
So, of course, all of our hopes are dashed. We thought that Trudeau would actually be someone who'd stood up for logic and reason, and then he comes out with this nonsense.
Yeah, well, I think Mulcair's of the same mind. Apparently people are occupying the NDP offices to make them break their silence on the slaughter in Gaza as well.
We're going to be doing a special coming up here next week as we continue to cover the genocide caused by the Israeli Defense Forces and the number of people that are being murdered over there. But here...
Of course, the Tories are touting how well our economy is doing.
Oh my gosh.
But a study's come out recently showing that the minimum wage and its buying power has remained virtually unchanged since 1975.
So anybody who remembers how dark things were then, they're just as dark now. Check this out.
Stats Canada reports that last year 50% of all people earning minimum wage were teenagers. Moreover, the real minimum wage last year compared to 1975 was only 1 cent more when inflation was factored in. In 1975, the hit movie Jaws was opening in theaters. Prophetic in a way, because circling the economic waters of the time was a predator called double-digit inflation. In the 80s, it would take a huge bite out of disposable income. In constant dollars, the minimum wage actually dropped, and only recently has returned to 1975 levels. The Bank of Canada inflation calculator shows that gasoline, for example, was selling for about 16 cents a litre back in 1975. In today's dollars, that would be 66 cents a litre. A $12 blouse would cost $53 today. But some things have come down in price, like dishwashers, that were selling in 1975 for the equivalent of $1,400. What cost $629 for a 25-inch TV is equal to about $2,700 of today's dollars. And we all know we can buy bigger sets for under $1,000.
So yes, it can be argued that the minimum wage earner has more buying power today than in 1975. That is, unless you have to live somewhere, especially in the Lower Mainland, because if you factor in the cost of housing, all that buying power disappears.
Today, the average price of a detached home in Greater Vancouver is $1.2 million. In 1975, it was $69,000. Add inflation, and that $69,000 should translate into $304,000 today. But of course it doesn't. Ted Chernacki, Global News.
So, as the Tories continue to slam up against the concrete wall of social media, we're there to jump in on their nightmare.
Unfortunately, at least some of the mainstream is catching up and providing us with information that we can use to bring you some real important information.
So remember that. We go through thousands of hours of propaganda and nonsense on CTV, CBC, and of course Global to bring you the pertinent facts. I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
Stay tuned. We've got more coming up about police brutality and of course a positive show.
And also we're going to talk about food.
It's all coming up. Stay tuned.
Wait a minute, you don't listen to Taylor Swift?
No. Girl, I am like whiter than you.
Was it hard to grow up in the suburbs? It must have been really boring with no police activity or anything.
Your hair is amazing. You know, it's kind of like my golden retriever. It's so limp and lifeless. Like, how do you do that?
Oh, wow.
Your name is so easy to spell and pronounce. Was it like really easy to get a job?
Check out these photos of me volunteering at an orphanage in Europe. Cool. Those little white boys and girls, they were so inspiring.
Oh, wow. No, you don't sound like a dumb hick at all. That's so cool.
You are so pretty for a white girl.
It's really sad when Romney lost, huh? Good old Mitt. Couldn't do it. Could not do it.
You are dating a white guy. Does he have like a really tiny penis?
Oh, you must listen to that rural music, right?
You know who you look just like. Who? Jennifer Lawrence?
So I just saw Titanic. How are you dealing? I had no idea your people had it so hard.
Your skin is so pale. Can I touch it?
Wow. You know, I was just talking about that with my friend Jeremy. He's white too. So.
I don't even think of you as white. I don't. I really don't.
Wow. So you have to wear sunscreen? That is so crazy.
Hey, I'm from out of town. Can you help me find some meth? What do you mean you don't listen to Macklemore? You're white.
I've always heard that white girls are like super boring in bed.
Oh, hey. Yo. What's up, my crack? Whoa. Oh, no, man, it's cool. You know, I can say it. My girlfriend's white.
Yeah, not cool, man.
Oh, okay. My bad, Daniel. My bad.
It's crack.
The Economic Action Plan created so many acting jobs. Modern women in nondescript factories. Does this guy make microchips? Could be. And this golfer, it's actually me. I got paid to narrate and golf.
Actually, there are over 200,000 more people unemployed now than when the Conservatives took power in 2006. Help us come up with a better plan. Visit economicactionplan.ca.